Good afternoon. At 3:34, I want to call the meeting to order. I apologize for my 4 minutes of tardiness, but we're here now, and we will start with Mr. Johnson doing the roll call, please.
Councilwoman Fugit.
I'm here.
Councilwoman Helsley.
Here.
Dr. Lyons. Former Vice Mayor Pavlis. Councilwoman Parker. Former Vice Mayor Saunders. Here. Vice Mayor Smith. Here. 6 members present, Chair.
Thank you. So we have quorum. You should have all received the minutes of the July 22nd regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. Johnson, has anyone signed up for public comments?
No, Chair.
Thank you. I have no report. There are no special committees, so we don't have a report of the special committee. We don't have special orders, so we're just zipping right through. This is how you get through an agenda. Number 8 is unfinished business. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Beginning on packet page 10 are the rules that this body has reviewed with amendments that including the amendments we looked at the last meeting. The first ones that you all looked at and approved at the last meeting are on packet page 11. They're concerning the order of business. They concern reorganizing the consent agenda, the numerals, adding the authorization to apply for and accept grants to the consent, and capitalization in the order of business. Continuing onto page 13, this concerns the rules for the appeals that council could deliberate appeals without a motion and a second. We added "and a second" to that. Continuing on page 14 of the packet, at the last meeting, this body looked at rule number 13 concerning the agenda, and this was the adjustment to the timing of the agenda being published and distributed to members of council. I don't know if the chair wanted to look at this now.
Let's get through and then we'll go back.
Okay. And then continuing on at the bottom of the page, change the word defer to postpone. On the next page, page 15, in Rule 14, the task force looked at and considered amendment from Councilwoman Parker concerning referrals to committees and workshops. Those were adopted. Continuing on to page 16 of the packet, in order of debate, the body considered changes to the speaking limits, changed it from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, and also adjusted the total speaking time on agenda items from 15 to 9 minutes for each side. And I believe that concludes the amendments that this body considered and approved at its last meeting.
So any questions about any of that? I will tell you that last week I had a Zoom meeting with the city law director and council's attorney, bringing them up to speed on where we were with this. And one of the areas of concern that was strongly highlighted to me was our change in Rule 13, Section A, wanting the full package 7 days ahead instead of 4 days, about the difficulty that would be in working, in the adjustment of timing for the administration to get those ready. I said I was not in a position to negotiate on behalf of this body, but the concern is duly noted. Would anybody like to take this up again?
Of course, the difficulty from the council member standpoint is you don't have much time to prepare with just 4 days.
Right.
So the 7 days would be, from the council standpoint,
Preferable.
a whole lot nicer, yeah.
Yes. Oh, does anybody else have their light on? Okay, Ms. Parker.
Was there a timeline suggested for when council, of course, the charter states a timeline for submitting items to the agenda, but that's more of a deadline than a first date when you might be able to submit it. So is there another timeline that might work better for the law department?
We can, fortunately, the law director's here, we can ask him. I will say, one of the things that I was not aware of, that I was made aware of, is that whenever a draft agenda by the administration is sort of planned on, that becomes a public document. So I believe if I'm interpreting correctly, basically what I was told is our concern about a draft agenda being out to the public before we have supporting documents in order to be able to discuss things fully as constituents call and want to talk about an agenda item that you don't have the full packet on, that won't go away, but we would, in our proposal that council already approved, we would still have 7 days to review the information from Tuesday to Tuesday. The publishing of a draft agenda would still come probably before. I don't know that it has to, but it could. Well, whatever, I'm not the attorney. He's here, he can speak to that. But my point is our concern about a lag time between the draft agenda being public and us having all that we need to reasonably discuss with a constituent, that isn't gonna, it won't all happen at the same time. There will still be a lag time, but the question then is, do we really want 7 days to review? Or is 4 days enough? I think that's really kind of what I understand. The gap in people knowing before we know isn't really gonna change. It's, do we need 7 days to review all that we are asked to vote on, or is it 4? Mr. Swanson, since I called you up, I think I should let you talk.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk. And I think you have articulated it appropriately. And I certainly understand and appreciate the position you're in, and I understand the desire to have the materials further in advance than 4 days. I get that. And we can do that. We can accommodate whatever schedule you want us to accommodate in terms of providing you the materials. It will not eliminate that lag time you're talking about because there's going to have to be a draft agenda so that we know that we're getting the actual agenda correct when we actually send out the original agenda. And as soon as the draft agenda goes out, that of course becomes a public document, and if somebody asks us for the public document, we are obligated by state law to furnish that document to them. So there still is going to be a little bit of a lag time where folks are going to know what's on the agenda, and you don't have everything there is to know about what that item is. I can only offer to you that during that period of time, maybe the correct answer is we're receiving information from the administration. I can't answer your questions until we've received from the administration the information that's necessary for us to know to address your questions. That is an unsatisfactory answer to those folks, and I get that. They won't be happy about it, but it's an accurate answer to the question. And so that's all I can suggest in that area.
I will say that is my answer. That is my answer when I get the question, that until I get the full packet, I can't fully discuss this.
Yeah. The concern that I raised with it being a Tuesday deadline rather than a Thursday deadline, frankly, has to do with the internal workings of the law department and putting things together. And that concern that I raised has to do with when we finally get something that says this goes on the agenda, and it often comes from the finance department as the last stop before it comes to us. When it comes to us from the finance department, there's a lot to be done after we receive it. And that lot often includes the drafting of a contract, the negotiation of a contract many times. A lot of times, we're negotiating that contract right up until the very last minute. It involves getting the insurance certificates that are necessary. It involves communicating with the people. Most often, this is contracts that we're talking about. So there is, the lawyer has to draft the contract. And so it is difficult for us, to get that to you earlier than we are getting it to you with the timelines that we have in place right now. So if you change it to Tuesday rather than Thursday, that simply means we're going to have to back up our deadline to everybody in the city. They're just going to have to all back up their deadline and do it 2 days earlier, or we're going to be slower in getting business accomplished than what we're doing right now. And I guess many times that won't hurt, but there are times when I would say that, I don't say that the departments are deliberately lagging behind or anything like that. They just got a lot of work to do. And they're getting as much done as they can do, and they're getting it done at the last minute, as we all do from time to time. We all do stuff at the last minute. And so it makes it very difficult for them to back up their deadline even further to try to get something done that needs to be done on behalf of the city. So I don't wish to be appearing to either complain either about having an earlier deadline or to complain to the departments about not having stuff earlier so that we can get our work done on it. It's just the way the world works.
Right.
And, we'll just have to accommodate whatever it is you tell us to do. This is up to you to decide what to do. We'll do whatever you tell us to do. We just want you to have all the information you need to have in order to make the right decision about what those deadlines are going to be.
Thank you. Ms. Parker, is your light on? Oh, okay. Ms. Parker.
Well, based on that feedback, I tend to prefer our current timeline and structure because as a council person preparing potential items for the agenda that weekend, being able to talk to constituents as I'm preparing before the Monday deadline is really valuable time. And I imagine the law department would not be working on compiling the agenda over the weekend.
We hope not.
So I'd rather use that time myself to prepare rather than have everything issued on Tuesday.
Anybody have anything else? Miss Dr. Lyons, you're not Mr. Mr. Doctor.
Bill's good.
Yeah, Bill.
A couple of thoughts on this. Having been up in the middle of that, I certainly appreciate what Mr. Swanson has said. But I'm trying to reconstruct a little history, so let me know if this is wrong. I recall that the draft agenda thing is something that is proactively sent to the media. Is that true or not? When it comes out on the Tuesday?
It proactively gets sent to the media because they've requested it. They requested it in advance. So, yes, it is.
Okay. Because I remember when we didn't do that, there was some point that started happening, that whole draft agenda. And one wonders, I would say, if the media had the week, in advance by having, the Tuesday, whether there needed to be that agenda to go out. I mean, it's a public document. It can be requested, obviously.
Right.
And maybe the media would request that every single time, and we would be in the situation you're talking about. But as I recall, when we instituted making that available, it used to be that everything was available on the Thursday. In fact, I'm pretty positive of that.
Yeah.
So
I remember that as well.
right. And so what I guess what I'm saying is, if it did go out early, did there still need to be the draft agenda released? I know it's an internal document. Somebody could ask for it, but that's a little different than regularly sending it out and then having it go and people aware of it and, calling council people, which is what the problem is. So, and so if we had continued with what's proposed here, It seems to me it would just mean a lot of things would be kicked to the next meeting because they weren't on time. But occasionally there are things that are time-bound that could really
Yeah.
cause some issues that you
Correct.
spoke. I've just wanted to kind of put that for more context.
Well, I guess I'm going to be the contrarian here, because I understand that the administration's got work to do. I understand everybody's got work to do, but that's their full-time job. Council people are not full-time employees. They are trying to get all this work done after their day job and on the weekends and being prepared to vote on very significant things. I think that's why in retreats, we've talked about some of this and had the discussion about, could we get packets sooner? I'm not going to die on the hill of Tuesday, but I just want it also on the record that everybody else that has a role to play in this is a full-time employee. And all the people who have to read and talk to constituents and digest this and vote tend to have the least amount of time to prepare. So I think that's why we talked about it. So this is what we said we're going to go forward with. If we don't want to go forward with that, I'm not going down that hill. I'm just reminding us of why we said it in the first place. So if somebody wants to make a motion to amend this rule and it passes, then that will be what we go forward with.
Is there some other time span that we might consider? Because of course, this has to go through another, to council, so
You know, the question becomes, is a Wednesday better than a Thursday? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, I really, but that is the sense I have heard from our colleagues as we talk at these retreats. The speed of business in the city is faster than it used to be. The speed with which everybody's trying to get this done is faster than it used to be. It's a good problem to have. I guess we're booming, but, you know, I just felt compelled to say, this is why we had this conversation in the first place, because council said it's a lot and we'd like a little more time to review this. Mr. Frost, I assume
you,
you'd
Chair.
like to be recognized.
Please, thank you. The refrain of council doesn't get the information soon enough is something that has gone on forever. With Mayor Ash, there was not a draft agenda that was sent out. And when it got delivered on the Thursday was the first time everybody found out what was coming up on the agenda, unless you had been told beforehand. And I think it was, and Dr. Lyons may be able to help me remember, I think it was under Mayor Haslam's administration that the draft agenda became known, and people on council asked to be included on that so they could get more of a heads up than simply the Thursday afternoon dropping of the package at their house. So it's same song, different verse. The purpose of the draft agenda was to give the heads up, and the meat was going to be put out there later on the bones of the draft agenda. So, this is, has been going on for some time.
Councilman Smith, Vice Mayor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other. I get the ripple effect back upstream for the staff, and I obviously appreciate 2 more days to review things, but I don't feel strongly enough about it to really make a motion or push for the full packet on Tuesday. But
Well, then somebody needs to make a motion to change it, because this is what we said we wanted. And that's what's going to go to council unless we make a motion today to change that.
I think this is nuanced enough that we could bring it forward to council and let the other members.
Let us just duke it out.
We'll
as
let other
council.
members weigh in. I think
I think there's value in that, too.
there's mixed reviews here on this one, but I think hearing from our colleagues would be helpful on this one.
Yeah, I mean, we brought this up because they said they wanted this considered, so there you go. There you go. Councilwoman Parker.
Well, I do have one question for the lawyers. If we change the language to 5 days rather than 4 days, with the agenda coming out on Wednesday, I I know you asked for 2 days, but if we submit Monday at 8 a.m., what do we think about that being enough time? Monday at 8 a.m. being the deadline.
Keeping the Tuesday preview.
Yeah, I'm not making any suggestions around the draft agenda process.
Submitting things for the agenda is the easiest for me compared to the law department. Respectfully, Monday mornings at 8 a.m., I'm not in the office. I mean, maybe the deadline Friday at noon or something, but at 8 a.m. on Monday, there will not be any time for me to review anything, to make sure it's in the form to go on the agenda or anything like that. I mean, sometimes noon on Monday, it can be kind of a push comes to shove.
For the sake of clarity, we're also talking about Rule 12. So there's a discussion about both Rule 13 and Rule 12 at this time, because the deadline for filing is in Rule 12.
Thanks for that reminder. I can make a motion to remove that amendment that we've made, but I'm also okay with taking the discussion to council and updating them.
Let's go to council.
Okay, we'll let our colleagues, we'll have this, some of us will have this discussion again with our other colleagues. All right. Yes, go ahead.
At the meeting that the chair referenced, Mr. Swanson did suggest that on packet page 15, Rule 15, the change we made, subsection C, suggested rather than using the masculine pronoun he, just using the word the mayor, if the mayor is uncertain of the result of a voice vote. That was his suggestion.
Well, I will say, I am in favor of anywhere in the document, if we're talking about whoever's chairing the meeting, it needs to say the chair of the meeting, rather even less than, because there could be times when the vice mayor has chaired a meeting when the mayor is absent. So should the language be
The chair.
the chair? All right. Is there a motion? Thank you, Debbie. Is there a second to change it? Thank you. All right, all in favor of changing all references to whoever is holding this gavel to the chair? All in favor, say aye. Throughout the document.
Throughout the rules? Mm-hmm. Okay. That might be, I'm not sure what we'll have intended to have done there, but.
Just take a look at it.
Okay. Sure.
Well, I'm just talking about if we're going to be consistent. Change it for sure for here and take a look at it everywhere
Okay.
else.
Yep.
Mr. Swanson's going to tell me that's wrong. Yes?
No, I'm not. I'm simply going to say that my purpose was primarily to get away
Gender-neutral
from
language.
the sexism of it.
Yes.
Presuming that a mayor is a male or something like that, when you start using pronouns rather than the title of the position itself,
office, yes.
you either have to use an indefinite pronoun, like a lot of people use he for everything, and I get that. And now sometimes I go to he/she, and I hate that.
Yeah.
I don't like the sound of he/she when you can substitute whatever that person is into that position. So that was my purpose in
Yes,
doing that.
and I agree with you 100% on that. I think we all do. So,
Okay. I'm clear.
all right.
Quick question on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Is a general plan essentially of the law department to make those changes as new policies, ordinances are adopted, or should we consider as a city a comprehensive process to update our language and our ordinances? And I guess we can't touch the charter without approval from the residents.
You are correct on that last part. It just seems to me that we change it as it becomes convenient to do it. If you're getting into that subject for some other reason, go ahead and change it while you're doing it. But to go back and kind of do a comprehensive review of the code for that purpose probably seems like a little much to me. But I mean, if that's how we should spend our time, we can. But I think maybe that's going a little far.
As evidenced by the look Mr. Johnson gave me when I suggested he just do it in the rules.
In this section.
I think that may be a lot of work. So, okay. He did sort of look at me like, ma'am? Okay. We're good. This is not, I'm sorry, I'm not behaving professionally about this, but that would just deserve to laugh, so.
Okay.
All right,
I think we could skip the next two.
Yes, yes.
And proceed.
yes. So the next thing we need to talk about, we're going to go to new business since we've got a half hour left, to talk about the consideration of the establishment of a charter review committee, and how we might want to go about doing that. That was, so Mr. Johnson, I believe you gave us some information. Would you like to speak to any of that?
Sure, thank you, Chair. Beginning on packet page 34, this is some information from MTAS regarding how one amends a home rule charter. It's just basic information, there's nothing too fancy there. And then on the following pages, this is just general advice that MTAS offers about the formation of a citizen advisory committee, which I think could be helpful in the discussions that may be had at this meeting and following meetings if this body considers a charter review process. So something to digest and consider about how that would function. And then more specifically, I put together 2 pages of questions or issues that I foresee this body would need to address and make some decisions on regarding the formation of a charter review.
Is that on page 27?
Begins on page 28.
28, okay.
Yes. So there are various issues that for to consider. And then lastly, I'm beginning on page 30. This is an excerpt from Dane Morgan's report that he produced for this body regarding a charter review and his analysis of other cities, Nashville, Oak Ridge, and Knox County, and how those bodies look and function.
The floor is open for any discussion about this or questions.
Chair, how do you want to work through this? Do you want to go down through each section, or just?
If nobody has anything burning question, then let's go section by section, but,
Okay.
all right. I see no burning question lights, so we'll go ahead section by section.
So the first issue I think is the most pressing would be deciding on whether or not this should be a standing committee of City Council or a special committee. A standing committee is like this body is familiar with, the audit committee. It has continuing existence. It doesn't cease to exist at any point in time. Members are continually appointed to it to fill its ranks. A special committee, on the other hand, would go out of existence at the conclusion of a specified task. For instance, after having reviewed a charter amendment process.
So I have a question for the attorneys, whichever one wants to answer. Mr. Frost, you're our attorney, or Mr. Swanson, you've been a city council attorney, so I figure we've got 2 people out there that can answer for us. In my mind, that discussion makes it sound like we would have a special committee to complete the task. But if you wanted that special committee to be reconvened at a regular cycle, how does one do that? I'm just thinking about, some people have, okay, every 5 years, every 10 years, we're going to convene this charter review committee. Can anybody speak to that for me? Mr. Swanson?
The answer to your specific question is, if you've got the standing committee, then that committee meets as its meetings are called, and I assume the chair would call those meetings. And you could decide as time goes along and things come before your committee, then that committee could decide whether you need to go forward with those things that need to be done in order to get the question in front of the voters to change the charter. So, I don't think you would have necessarily a charter review every 5 years or something like that. I think you would just have your standing charter review, and people would bring that, if there are changes to the charter that people want to propose to be made, they come to that standing committee.
But we, as a council, could have a standing committee and tell it to review the whole charter at any particular time.
Yes.
At its direction, so,
You could do that.
okay. So that would give us the maximum flexibility to have a standing committee, because they could either deal with stuff as it came up, or periodically, a council could say, take a look at the whole thing.
Yes. And now I've been debating on whether I should just step back for a minute and just give myself the luxury of an unexpressed thought. But I've become almost incapable of doing that these days. And I'm now going to become the elderly curmudgeon that I'm becoming. And I'm going to, it's certainly a question over which reasonable minds could differ. No question about that. And there are good thoughts, good arguments to be made on both sides of it. My general thought is, though, that having sat around this table for, almost 40 years, for all of these council meetings, I think there is danger involved in having someone who is designated as the chair of the Charter Review Committee, because, and I don't want to involve any personalities in this whatsoever. I don't want to involve any individuals in this. But what I see as people move toward the ends of their terms, most council members think that sooner or later they're going to be mayor.
No,
and
they
how do
don't.
you get to be mayor? You get to be mayor by being perceived as a leader. And how do you get to be perceived as a leader? You get to be perceived as a leader by causing things to happen. And so it concerns me that there are folks who would be placed in the position of chair of the Charter Review Commission and the Charter Change Commission, whatever you want to call the thing. And it seems to me that just like the Constitution of the United States, just like the Constitution of the state of Tennessee, the charter of the city of Knoxville is the guardrails of our government. And I think you ought to be very cautious about changing the charter of the city of Knoxville, just like you ought to be very cautious about changing the Constitution of the state of Tennessee or the Constitution of the United States, because there are waves of political thought that go this way and waves of political thought that go that way. And if you change your guardrails every time those waves come around, you end up with a chaotic situation in my mind. And if people are motivated to make those changes for different kinds of reasons, then I think that's problematic. I think that's a little frightening to me. If there is an urgency to change the charter, that will reveal itself, and it won't be any problem to urge people to change the charter. But just think, right now in our state government, if we had a standing committee on changing the Constitution of the state, or even in our federal government, if we had a standing committee on changing the Constitution of the United States, think where it would go right now.
Thank
I
you.
don't want our charter going in that direction.
Thank you. You're making my point about why I don't want it to be a standing committee. I think as special committee, that would be on a more regular, we're going to agree to disagree on this. I agree with you wholeheartedly. We don't need to be looking at this all the time. But I do think that it is valuable to periodically look at your governing documents. And what we have talked about in our council workshops is that that we never look at anything until it becomes a crisis and somebody brings something up. So I agree with you, and I disagree with you about never looking at the charter. But I do agree with you that there are people who can use it for ill. And that's why I ask about the special committee that does a task and goes out of existence, which would never negate the ability of any council member or anybody to bring one when they wanted to. That I'm just trying to articulate what I thought I heard council talk about at our retreats, about creating a regular order so it was not always reactionary. I'm not going to die on the hill whether we do this or not. We said we'd have the discussion, so. Ms. Parker.
No, I'm in agreement with you both. I think a special committee is the approach that we should take for the reasons that have been lifted up, but also I'm lacking the words, but I would be concerned about the I would be concerned with how that standing committee operated as new leaders came to council, as new elections happened. Just what does that look like? So having a committee that focuses on a specific task, but then also we would outline how regularly we expect a new committee to form and review the charter so that it does get reviewed periodically and more often than we do now.
Which is not. And so, Dr. Lyons.
Yes, I agree that a permanent standing committee is not a good idea. I don't think, for the points that Mr. Swanson made, but I do think the middle ground of having something that forces a look at the charter on some sort of regular basis is a good idea. And there are, not to mention, there are things in there that need to be removed. I mean, by Supreme Court decisions or federal law, they become, wrong or, not having any teeth anymore, or they're just plain incorrect as references can be to the way we elect council people after, there's a state legislative change. This is one example. And the charter the charter is going to be overruled by the state legislature, but I think you want to get the charter language consistent. Things like that a periodic review makes sense as long as it was not a standing committee, but a process that came up periodically is a better way to do it.
Somebody else have a light on? Then I was going to say, I think part of that's why, if you look at some people, they look at it every 10 years. There's a long period of time, so it's not just, it's not just every big deal. But, I mean, we don't have to decide this today, but that's what I thought I heard us talking about in our retreats. Councilwoman Parker.
I am curious, since we have, I don't know if that is included in the description of Knox County's charter review process, but is there a chair of that committee? And how does that operate since they are a special committee?
I would think they might choose the chair from among themselves if it's not specified. But of course, this is, consists of commission members and citizens both.
I I'd be happy to research that. I don't recall how they choose
would
their
be
chair.
good.
That would be wonderful, thank you.
And I do point out, though, lower down in the composition, that the power to appoint the committee also confers with it the power to select the chair. So unless council wanted to do otherwise, council would select the chair, but you could empower the committee to select its own chair.
Again, I don't expect us to decide anything today. This is just conversation about things.
I have one more question for the law director. As we consider a charter review committee, and as you express your thoughts about a chair, are you recommending that we create a body that operates without a chair, or that we don't create a body?
No, I think if you're going to have changes to your charter affected, you probably do need to appoint a special committee to do that. And any committee really needs a chair in order for business to occur. I think you need someone to lead the direction of the discussion and all that. So, no, I think having a chairless group get together and hope something's going to come out of that would probably be relatively futile.
Okay. Thank you, I just wanted to clarify.
The county, they elect their officers when they go into thing, and they have a chair, a vice chair, and a secretary that they elect amongst their body of 27 or whatever it is. Just for info.
Sorry, it is interesting if you look at theirs, each district rep gets to nominate somebody nominated by commission, and then 9 citizens by the mayor, so that it's 2/3 of the legislative body controls the seats and 1/3 with the administration. That's the way I read that.
One thing is helpful to note, in Knox County structure, the at-large county commissioners don't serve on the committee.
Which
I
is
know.
interesting.
I know. I think since there are 3 at-large people here, we should figure out a way around that.
I'm again.
Well, we don't have to copy their model. This is just what they do.
Right.
You know, it could be that this was written prior to them having at-large commissioners.
Could be. It could
That'd be my guess.
Because maybe they ought to look at their rules. Or their charter.
And in 2020, their chair was a commissioner, but the other 2 elected people were not. Sam McKenzie was one of them, and he was definitely in the state legislature in 2020.
So
And
he was
Lisa
a citizen
Starbuck
appointee.
was the secretary, yeah. So,
So anything else that causes us to have a question? We're not deciding anything today. This is just kind of, this conversation seems to me like things that we have questions about or ought to think about. Anything else? Or y'all are having your own meeting.
I do have a
Any thoughts?
question.
Yes.
The county mayor does play a role in the charter review. I saw with some other, well, actually, I think I was reading the wrong thing. I think I was reading the
The county mayor selects 9 citizens to serve on the committee.
I mean, I think you
The
have to have the
county.
administration pick, I mean, they have a vested interest of what's in the charter.
Absolutely.
Like the legislative body has a vested interest. So it stands to reason that you've got to have representation from both. And the mayor appointing people makes sense.
but in the county, the mayor selects,
The county mayor selects 9.
The ma-
Each district rep, no, they only get 1/3 of the total seats.
There's also a limitation by district, so of the 9 county commission districts, no more than, each district may only have up to two members of the committee serving from those districts. So you can't have one district overrepresented.
They got 9 districts.
Yes.
Yes.
Do we, I'm struggling to see a benefit to the mayor selecting so many members of the committee. Does anyone else see
For a
a?
balance of power, because the commissioners basically select 2/3 of the members.
Okay,
Because the rate I
because there are
read this,
27 members.
the 9 district commissioners are on it. And then 9 citizens nominated by commission are on it. And then 9 citizens nominated by the county mayor are on it. So there are 27 people on it. 9 appointed by the mayor, 9 appointed by commission, plus the 9 commissioners themselves. Is the way I read this.
Yes. I think it's also helpful to note, though, that the structure by which the county charter group works will be somewhat different than what a group that this body might consider and council might adopt, because the county charter group can pose questions directly to the voters. This body that you all might be considering would have to send it to city council for final approval, is my understanding of,
Ooh,
and
that's so
Mr. Swanson,
interesting.
yeah,
But
he's
that's
shaking his
another
head.
check and balance.
So you may not need all the members of city council serving on this committee, perhaps.
Does anything in the charter prevent us from giving the committee that authority?
I think the state constitution only provides a few methods, but Mr. Swanson, of course, can.
But wait, you mean the county can do it, but state constitution won't allow the city to?
That's my understanding.
Oh, interesting.
They may have a different kind of charter.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
The county charter review process allows the committee to submit the question directly to the voters.
Right.
I was asking, would we be able to pass an ordinance that gave a charter review committee that authority?
Not without changing the charter first,
Okay,
because it's the charter, which is our operating thing here, and the charter says, in order to change the charter, you've got to have an ordinance of council. There's a way to change the charter outside of that, but it'll never work.
Is that like getting a bunch of signatures?
Just for a short answer, it'll never work.
Is that like where you have to get a bunch of citizens to agree to put something on the charter?
yeah, is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Such,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
seems like I remember something
You
like
gotta
that,
have-
A
but it's an
referendum.
inordinately large number. It makes
Right.
it very difficult for a reason, and I understand that. But,
Yes.
because I think back about 20-something years ago, people tried that.
It can be done. It's got to have a certain
Yeah,
number of
right.
certified voters who
Right.
sign up to do it. And,
Well, I think
it
the
has
only-
been tried a number of times in the
Yes,
past without
never worked.
without even close to success.
Right. Dr. Lyons?
I think the county, when provides sort of a way to go around their normal process, but it involves the same people. So that's
Yes,
kind of strange.
yes,
And otherwise, it could go to county commission, which would pass if county commissioners
Are
are
serving
controlling.
on the body.
So when you're talking about the city, I personally don't think there's anything wrong with having that recommended and then still go through city council as a check before getting on the ballot. At least it assures things are being looked at that maybe city council wouldn't necessarily come up with, or the administration.
Absolutely, and it becomes, that provides an opportunity for a public to know that it's coming and express their concerns if they had them, which I'm sure they would.
I can't imagine 27, that's pretty unwieldy.
Well,
I'm just saying, it would be interesting if you had a mayor and then a minority of members of council who shared a position. But then the majority of council shared a different position, but the votes on the committee approved an item, but that didn't have the votes on council to actually get on the ballot. That's what I'm trying to think of those types of scenarios, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's possible, yeah.
yes, that just made my head hurt at 4:23 PM. as we're getting ready to go into a very long night. So,
It may be also helpful to consider that I believe, and Mr. Swanson can correct me, but there are certain sections or articles of the charter that are not entrenched, but they're protected from amendment. I believe the pension in particular is protected from amendment that doesn't originate with the pension board, I think. I could be wrong about that.
I mean, I do think if we're going to establish one, that's a committee to look at that. The first thing that committee would have to do would be really understand what's in the charter now, like those sorts of things, like what actually can you change? How would you do it? That kind of thing. So, because that's a very good point. There's some things we couldn't touch. Vice Mayor Smith, you've been reflective, and you keep looking like you might turn on your light. Well, this is why this first meeting is just like the first meeting about rules. It's like, what is this that City Council asked us to look at, and how would we go about eating this elephant if they want us to consider starting a charter review committee? Vice Mayor Saunders, you've been around a while. Any thoughts on this? If you were, other than please don't put me on the committee?
That would be my first wish. But I do see at least one member of this body who I think would really be good on a committee to review the charter.
Well, I would agree if we get to that point, yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't the intent of council, I mean, I'm the one who's not been on council, obviously, but isn't the intent just to assure that it gets looked at? Isn't
Yes.
that what the thinking
Yes,
was? I
yes.
think it's no more than that.
Yeah,
Really.
this isn't, a
Not that
big,
it's-
it's not a big sinister thing to change it.
Right,
It's
and not
more like-
necessarily a continual committee or anything, but some way that somebody looks at it systematically.
Yes.
Who's the somebody?
This would be that would be what the charter
That's
committee
what
would be.
this,
That's
that's
what
what
we're- yeah.
this task force would have to, I believe, decide is if we were gonna do this, here would be the makeup of who should be on the body that reviewed it. That's one woman's opinion.
And how often they would, I mean, there are a lot of questions. Who'd be on it? How often would this come up? Or would they be required to do it at least every 10? There are things you could
Yes, those
write
are
in.
the kind of things
Those are
that-
the kind of things we'd have to work
Yeah,
through.
because this body isn't about opening it up and looking at it. This body's about creating a process by which it is routinely looked at. That's what I heard from our council retreats for several years. Councilwoman Parker.
Well, I have found this conversation helpful. I was leaning towards the Knox County structure, but that one piece that it has to come back to council for approval changes my thoughts around it. I'm less in support of council members serving on the committee because we're going to get the final decision and we'll have our own discussion. But council members may want to, so that may be something we can consider. One thing we didn't discuss, though, is in our packet, one option offered by MTAS is also the election of members to the committee. And I would not be opposed to that. I know that that's always a cost for the city, and so we probably stray away from it because of that. But ultimately, city council members hold the power on what changes to the charter are considered and go on the ballot. So no power would be lost, but it would allow, there's a section in here that says the governing body should appoint in talking about advisory committees, the governing body should appoint the members of the advisory committee to underscore the importance of the work, give it legitimacy. But if those members of the committee are elected, they would also have that legitimacy. So I just wanted to lift that up as an option that I would support.
Okay. It is 4:29. Are there any, do we have any work that we would like Mr. Johnson to do for us between now and then? I mean, are there questions that we have that he can research for us? I mean, we're looking at the way Knox County does it. That's not the only, y'all are changing seats. I'm going to be like my mother's, the school teacher. Am I going to have to separate y'all? And I know it's who the problem is. Anyhow, I'm just teasing. It's Dr. Lyons. He's such a, yeah. So is there anything that we would like Will to look at? Other cities, other anything? How do you want to proceed? We won't meet again till September.
We only have one other scheduled meeting beyond.
Yeah, we only are meeting in September and October, so we've got to get something done if we're gonna. We're just deciding on a process and who should be on a committee if we choose to establish it. I mean, we could have all this conversation and say, we don't think we're ready for it yet. But we are doing what council said they wanted done, which was explore the possibility of creating a charter review committee. What would that look like? Who should be on it? And how often should it meet? That's what I understand our marching orders were from council. Yes. Vice Mayor Smith, is that correct? In my understanding of what my marching
You're
orders
tracking.
were?
You're tracking, yeah. I mean, I think
Okay.
one of the ways to do this is for one of us to make a draft of a recommendation, similar to how we did the Rules Committee.
And bring some suggestions back for October.
Because there's a lot of variation in these and others,
Yes.
so it's not as easy to say there are these 7 themes and we should start with those.
Okay. All right, then, looks like you're off the hook unless
what-
somebody calls you.
I have one.
Oh, Ms. Parker.
Just in reference to that item I just mentioned in terms of elections, what was included in our packet was an election prompted by a referendum. A petition. Is that the only option? Could we, as council, create an election process for charter amendment committee members?
Well, I'm going based solely on what MTAS provided here as their advice. These are the 3 methods by which home rule cities can amend their charter.
Well, it wouldn't be amending the charter, because city council would still have to approve what goes before the voters, but a committee to make recommendations to the council.
So we'll basically be running an election cycle to elect people to serve on the Charter Review Committee. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
and we would, we'd create a process where it would be like every 4 years, these members are elected for a 2-year period or something like that.
Oh, I don't want to do that. Mr. Frost?
Thank you. If I understand Councilmember Parker's discussion, in Article Roman numeral 11 of the Tennessee State Constitution, it says 7 members, and they are chosen on an at-large basis. So you could have the potential of, who shows up, what part of town shows up to vote, dictates
All seats.
the process.
Thank you.
And they pose the question directly to the voters, is my understanding.
Do they have to have that authority?
I'm just looking, if I understand the discussion, just, looking at Article number 11. It's a commission of 7 members chosen at large not more than once in 2 years in a municipal election. So if it's a municipal election, then obviously city council's on the ballot and the mayor every 4 years. So you would have city council, charter review commission, or whatever it's called, and the mayor but, well, and city judge potentially all being on the ballot at once.
And it doesn't specify the seats or anything. I mean, I'm trying to think how that would work. You have a bunch of people in the top 7 get it, or how would that, you know,
It
is
just
that all
says-
unspecified?
7 members chosen at large. So it's, I mean, I'm interpreting, I mean, maybe it might take the administrator of elections, but it seems like to me, the first 7 vote getters.
Without anything else, it would seem that way. 'Cause otherwise, you'd have to make 7 seats or something like
Well-
that, which makes no sense.
City council races used to operate that way. It was the top vote getters, no, and there weren't A, B, C seats, yeah.
So I also think, I got your all's agenda very late in the day, and I scanned through it real quick, and I think the MTS information says that this has never been done in the state of Tennessee, this particular.
I
I
think
like being the first.
I believe that was a reference to the charter commission that the General Assembly would form.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
With that, it is 4:34, and I don't see any other lights on, so I'm going to adjourn us, and we have our research to do ourselves. If there are other things that you may want, reach out to Mr. Johnson, but I think Vice Mayor Smith's approach of perhaps bringing some sort of proposals back, because we could talk for months, but we have 2 more meetings scheduled, so let's do that next
I
time.
do think we ought to thank Will Johnson for the incredible work he's done to keep us informed.
Yes,
Thank you,
I
Will.
agree. Thank you, Will. He's loving it.
So much that I'm fleeing.
Yes, so much that he's going on vacation. We are adjourned.